to meet you, Marceau.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Marceau. It says here your mother died recently. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you miss her?
I did not mourn my mother. One day she was alive. The next, she was not. My main recollection from her funeral was the heat that day and the oddities who attended. People like to think that death is complex, but in truth, it is simple. A person is alive at one point in time and dead the next. This is the one thing true between all those who live. I now know this is no different for me. What part of this process warrants emotion? Almost all living beings perceive it with an abject indifference. When another dies, why should people be any different? I felt no attachment to those who attended my mother's funeral before, but now I see that they will die, just as I will die.
That is insane and depressing. The expression of emotions in humans is paramount to both human societal interactions and preservation of sanity. You create these excuses for your acts, such as blaming societal constructs, but these constructs were created on emotions which we do not choose to possess. Now, you cannot be forced to feel sadness for what has happened to your mother, but your reaction is a clear sign that you are a sociopath, or at least exhibit sociopathic tendencies.
According to my inner calculations, I agree with Lucas. In order for man to live, man must feel. To live a life with no emotion or care is not actually living. The vulnerability and attachment we feel to others is what makes our life so precious. Marceau, your outlook on life is cold and negative. If one lives life in such a manner, one will never find true happiness and appreciate the beauty of living.
Mr. Raymond Sintes, it says here he was accused of domestic assault. Why would you associate with such a volatile halfwit?
He offered me wine and food. I didn't want to cook myself, so I was inclined to accept his offer. We stayed in contact, and he told me about his issues and his mistress, and seeing as I didn't really care about the subject, I told him what he wanted to hear. I notice now that I am like him in that, just like him, we must endure the truth that we will live and die.
Do you realize that through your blatant ignorance you have fallen into a friendship with a man you do not care for? It is hard to imagine such a passionless man who chooses to live in such stagnant indifference. A relationship has meaning regardless of this supposed truth you believe you have found. You believe that all that connects you to everyone is the certainty of death, but I refuse to believe that life is so simple.
Your shallow and cold behavior and view on life led you down this path and got you in such trouble. I believe the people you associate yourself with translate to who you are and the type of person you want to be. Looking each moment solely for self-benefit and living without purpose associated you with a man with immoral and violent attributes. Raymond Sintes took advantage of your passiveness in life. This illustrates why it is so crucial to find a passion and fight for what you love.
What is your relationship with Marie?
She was attractive, especially when she wore that red dress. We had sex several times, and that was it. She asked me if I loved her one day. I told her that I didn't believe in love. Subsequently, she asked me if I would marry her. I told her if she wanted to, which led to her frustration. She was innocent, unaware of the truth that I see now.
Mary understood her existence better than you with your convoluted and absurd truths. She trusted her emotions and acted upon them. While you would like to believe that she is oblivious to your concept of reality, I believe that she is more aware of herself as a human being than you are. She wants to love and live her life without pondering her existence or her eventual death. You may consider this ignorance. I consider this meaning.
Lucas speaks with such truth and divinity, I couldn't agree more. The beauty of love gives life meaning. To find a true connection, we all as humans must open ourselves up to others with full devotion and disregard of the vulnerability. I believe having such vulnerability and so much to lose is what makes life so delicate. Think about life as nothing more than a flower. It begins as nothing more than a little seed. From growth and experiences, the flower begins to grow, and soon it blossoms from the tight, condensed bud to a beautiful flower with its beauty sprawling outwards. So beautiful, so beautiful. The final stage is the spreading. The flower scatters its seeds and disperses them, just like a human, amidst his or her emotions, memories, and love to surrounding people. My friend, this is what makes life so special.
You mentioned your neighbor, Salamano?
Yes. He had a mangy old spaniel for a long time. Twice a day, at 11 o'clock, and at 6, the old man took the dog out for a walk. Then he beat the dog and swore at it. One day, the dog ran away. I heard him crying, and for some reason, thought of Maman.
I find it interesting that you describe Mr. Salamano's situation with his dog in abject indifference as you always have, and fail to attain the truth that Salamano realized that night. You don't notice how much you cherish something until you have lost it. The issue is that you have lost so much, yet you fail to act in a rational way. One should feel at least a little after one has lost. Salamano understood this. It is also peculiar to remain emotionless or avoid meaningful relationships with others, for these relationships also make us human.
In my opinion, this is a perfect example of the way humans behave and act in the world. We live each day and moment desiring more, yet are completely unaware of all that we already have until it is taken away from us. This shows how one should be more aware and appreciative for the things in their lives that they may disregard or not show gratitude for. All right, Rousseau, tell me about when you killed that man.
The Arab drew his knife and held it up to me in the sun. The light shot off the steel. Sweat got in my eye, and I couldn't see well. The trigger gave. Then I fired four more times at the motionless body. It was like knocking 4 times on the door of unhappiness.
Even though you believe that life and death are constants and therefore societal formalities are redundant, I believe that your opinion that death unites all people should lead you to believe that killing that man was pointless and you could just as well have let him live. If you would have let him live, you would not be so inconvenienced and could continue your mundane life. I still, however, maintain that it is wrong to kill someone.
This is another display of how your passive behavior in life caused you to be manipulated and placed in this situation. This would never have unfolded if you held a sense of morals instead of being completely indifferent. Taking a life is no small act. It's a very big, large act. The danger of your lack of judgment and care of life is shown as you shoot the Arab, due simply to the sweat and reflection of sunlight into your eyes. This represents why it is so important to live with morality and to not be detached from the surrounding world. Farewell, Marcel.